What should you do if your vehicle hydroplanes? Release the accelerator and push in the clutch. To keep your vehicle from rolling back when you start up, you should partly engage the clutch before you take your right foot off of the brake. What is a good reason for knowing what the traffic is doing on all sides? You need to have room to change lanes or stop. What is controlled braking? Controlled braking is simply applying the brakes as hard as you can without locking the wheels. Whenever you are about to pass a vehicle, pedestrian or bicycle, you should assume that they have not seen you. Convex mirrors show a wider area than flat mirrors, but they also make everything seem farther away than it really is. What are 3 factors of total stopping distance with hydraulic brakes? Perception, reaction, and braking distance. When backing a trailer, you may make corrections to reposition your vehicle by pull-ups. Empty buses may not require more stopping distance than loaded buses because they usually have as much braking power when empty as when loaded. Where do you place the 3 reflector triangles on a 2-lane road? Within 10 feet of the rear and 100 feet to the rear and 100 feet from the front. When should you use your high beam headlights? Whenever you can, providing the law allows it. In holding a steering wheel, what is the proper way to place your hands? Firmly, with your hands on opposite sides of the wheel. If you have to set out warning reflective triangles by the highway, you should hold them between yourself and oncoming traffic. What are some things to do when you are backing your vehicle? Look at your path, back slowly, back straight back. What are some defects to look for in suspension system? Spring hangers that are cracked or broken. When should you downshift for a curve? You should downshift before entering the curve. Besides looking for vehicles coming into your lane, looking for traffic means watching for brake lights of slowing vehicles ahead. What is the purpose of cargo blocking and bracing? To keep cargo from sliding and falling and getting out of balance. When you need to slow down, you may want to warn drivers behind you by tapping lightly on the brake pedal to flash the brake lights. When backing a trailer, you turn the steering wheel opposite the direction you want to go. What is the major cause of most serious skids? Driving too fast for road conditions. Antifreeze is effective under hot conditions as well as cold conditions. What is the maximum distance between tie-downs to prevent cargo shifting? To prevent cargo shifting, tie down every 10 feet. What should you do when using a fire extinguisher to fight a fire? Aim at the base of the fire. When checking tires, what are some problems you should look for? Bad wear, cuts or other damage, tread separation, cracked valve stems. How can you know you have the engine speed and road speed to shift gears? By using the sound of the engine to know when to shift, you know you have the engine speed and road speed to shift gears. If you are using a helper when you are backing your vehicle, the helper should agree with you as to the signal for stop and stand where he can be seen by you. Wheels or rims that have been repaired by welding are not safe. What are some items to check, especially before driving in winter weather? Coolant levels and windshield washer and antifreeze. Besides watching the traffic behind you, you can use your rear view mirrors to watch for possible tire fires. What is a good policy for using your brakes when pulling off the road? Try to avoid using your brakes until your speed has dropped to about 20 miles per hour. You should always be looking into the distance ahead. Or actually, the question is, should you always be looking into the distance ahead? No. Instead, you should shift your attention back and forth, far and near. At night, where can you look to avoid the glare of oncoming traffic? Try to look at the right side of the road and watch the sidelines. Why can you never assume you will clear the height posted at overpasses? Because some roads can cause your vehicle to tilt. How long does it take to stop a heavy vehicle going 55 miles per hour on a dry, level road? About the length of a football field, or 6 seconds. About 6 seconds. You wish to turn right, and you must swing wide. You should turn wide as you complete the turn. Some newer vehicles have progressive shifting, which means the RPM at which you shift becomes higher as you move up in the gears. What may rust around the wheel nuts mean? Okay, let me just say that again. What may rust, or what does rust around the wheel nuts mean? It means that the wheel nuts may be loose. So rust means that the wheel nuts may be loose. If your vehicle is coming on, let me just say that again. Let's read this right, sorry. If a vehicle that is coming towards you has on high beams or has its high beams on, you should keep your lights on low beam and look off to the right. So basically, if you're seeing a vehicle come towards you with its high beams on, you don't want to turn your high beams on. Keep your high beams on low and look off to the right. What is true about downshifting before you reach a long downhill grade? Downshifting helps prevent the brakes from overheating and losing braking power. Whether backing a straight truck or a combination vehicle, you back and turn towards the driver's side. How often should you check your tires when driving in very hot weather? You should check your tires every 2 hours or every 100 miles. Because of the size of your vehicle, you may wish to flash your brake lights. That is, you may wish to flash your brake lights to remind drivers behind you of hazards that you see ahead. What is the purpose of brake retarders? Retarders are to help slow down the vehicle and to reduce brake wear. What is a good rule as to the speed you should go when driving at night? You should be able to stop within the range of your headlights. Downshifting requires knowing when to shift. To do this correctly, you should use either the tachometer or speedometer. In making a quick turn, what is a point to remember? Do not apply the brakes when you are turning. How should you lessen chances of having to make sudden moves to avoid hazards? Watch far enough ahead so that hazards can be anticipated. Roads usually become more slippery when the temperature has risen to the point where the ice begins to melt. What should you do before you drive if you are feeling drowsy? Get some sleep. To make a to make a tight turn with a large vehicle, you may have to go slower than many drivers would expect. With a pressurized cooling system, you should not remove the radiator cap until the system has cooled, which is a danger when traveling alongside other vehicles. You may be trapped when you need to change lanes. How far ahead should you look while driving? You should look 12 to 15 seconds ahead of you while driving. If you are turning left, which lane should you use of two left turn lanes? Use the right-hand lane. What can happen if you do not have enough weight on the steering axle? This can make the vehicle hard to steer. In turning, you should look in your mirrors to make sure that the rear of your trailer will not hit anything. As a driver, for what are you responsible regarding your cargo? You are responsible for inspecting your cargo and knowing that it is securely tied down and covered. If your cargo contains any hazardous materials, you must check to see if placards are required. What is a problem that you can have when using your mirrors? There are blind spots that your mirrors cannot show you. What is the minimum amount of tread depth that your tires should have? 4 32 inch on the front wheels and 2 32 inch on all other wheels. A pre-trip inspection should be performed before each trip. When going downhill in a vehicle with an automatic transmission, you should select a low range to get greater engine braking. What are some things to do if you are being tailgated? Avoid quick changes of speed or direction. To be sure that you know what is happening on the highway ahead of you, don't focus on mirrors too long. Exhaust system parts should not rub against fuel system parts, tires, or other moving parts of the vehicle. How do you test hydraulic brakes for their stopping action? Go about 5 miles per hour and then push the brake pedal firmly. A third good rule for using turn signals is if you do not have self-canceling signals, don't forget to turn off the turn signals. When traction is poor, as in rain or snow, how should you speed up? Very gradually. Where do you place the 3 reflector triangles on a divided highway? Place them all to the rear, within 10 feet and 100 feet and 200 feet. How often should cargo inspections be made? After every break during driving. When driving over 40 miles per hour, how much space should you try to keep in front of you? At least 1 second for every 10 feet of your vehicle length, plus 1 second. What is a vehicle condition report? A list of problems found by you. 2 of the 3 good rules for using turn signals are signal early and signal continuously. Before starting down a hill, you want to be sure that you are in the proper gear. You downshift before you start down the hill. How does tire pressure affect hydroplaning? Hydroplaning is more likely to occur when tire pressure is low. When should you help other drivers by signaling when it is safe for them to pass? Never signal to let others know when it is safe to pass. What is probably your best driving speed? Traffic is moving at 35 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone. 35 miles per hour is probably your best driving speed. When turned on, brake retarders apply their power whenever you let up all the way on the accelerator pedal. What is the minimum number of tie downs that you should have? You should have at least 2 tie downs. Should you turn your retarder off when the road is wet or snow covered? Yes, the retarder may cause a skid. Slight melting will make ice wet. Which is more slippery? Wet ice. In other words, wet ice is more slippery. At dusk or dawn, or at dawn or dusk, or in rain or snow, when it's hard for others to see you, you might turn on your low beam headlights. In other words, when it's hard for others to see you, it might be a good idea to turn on your low beam headlights. Since air pressure increases with temperature increases, you should leave the tires alone since the air pressure will decrease when the tires cool off. Okay, so that's referring to when your tires are hot. And what you need to do is when they're hot, don't let the air out, just let them cool down. That's what that's referring to. Okay, next question. Speed limits that are posted at freeway off-ramps may not be safe speeds for larger vehicles or heavily loaded vehicles. So if your vehicle is heavily loaded or extremely large or large, you may want to go slower than the posted speed limit on the ramp. How do you test hydraulic brakes for leaks? Or how do you test hydraulic brakes for a leak with a vehicle stopped or with the vehicle stopped? Pump the brake pedal 3 times and then apply firm pressure and hold for 5 seconds. When merging with other traffic, you should use your mirrors to make sure the gap in the traffic is large enough for you to enter. What are some steering system defects to look for? Missing nuts or bolts or cotter keys or other parts. The amount of space you need to cross or enter traffic is affected by the weight of your load. How many times more distance does it take to stop when speed is doubled? 4 times as much distance it takes to stop when speed is doubled. What are 2 factors in knowing when to shift? Using engine speed and road speed. If you have to stop your vehicle in the road to load cargo or passengers, you flash your brake lights to warn drivers behind you. Why do empty trucks usually require greater stopping distances? Empty trucks can bounce and lock up their wheels. What is the only way to stop a front wheel skid? Let the vehicle slow down, stop turning, and stop braking so hard. What is important about the center of gravity of a load? A high center of gravity means you are more likely to tip over. Must you show your logbook to officers? Yes. Before putting tire chains on your vehicle, you check to be sure that the chains have no broken hooks or cross links or bent or broken side chains. If you think that a tire has blown out, what should you do in stopping? Hold the steering wheel firmly and don't touch brakes until the vehicle has slowed down. What is black ice? Black ice is a thin layer of ice so clear you can see the road underneath it. As soon as you see your trailer getting off the proper backing path, you should turn the top of the steering wheel in the direction of the drift.